The origin of cells has to do with the origin of life, which began the history of life on Earth. Cell biology studies cells, their physiological properties, their structure, the organelles they contain, interactions with their environment, their life cycle, division and death. Hello to all at home. Thank you for watching iTTV. So, in the previous lesson, what did we learn? We learned about the structures of cell and how to use a microscope. So, in today's lesson, what will we be learning about? We will be learning about the general structure of animal cell and plant cell. Before I begin today's lesson, I would like to do a quick recap of what we learned in the previous one. Do you still remember the structure of a microscope? What are their functions? So let's remember together, what is the microscope made of? Firstly, we have got the body tube. Number 2, the revolving nose piece. 3, 4 and 5 are all the objective lens. Next, number 6, we have the stage clip. Followed by number 7, the diaphragm. And lastly, number 8, we have got the light source. So what about the other structures of the microscope? Number 9 is the ocular lens or eyepiece. Number 10 is the arm. Number 11, the stage, where you place your slide, of course. Number 12 and number 13 are both the coarse adjustment knob and the fine adjustment knob. And lastly, number 14, we have got the base. So students, do you still remember the parts of the microscope? Could you answer everything correctly? So today we begin our lesson about the general structure of animal cell and plant cell. Generally students, the cell is made up of what? We have got firstly the cell membrane. Then in the cell membrane we have got the protoplasm. Now remember, this is essential. The protoplasm is made out of two things. Firstly the cytoplasm and next the nucleus. So now you know three structures of cell. Firstly the cell membrane, secondly the protoplasm, which is the nucleus, and lastly the cytoplasm, of course. So remember, what is the protoplasm and what is the cell membrane? What is the difference between the animal cell and plant cells? Well, animal cells have got extra true structures, which are firstly the chloroplast and secondly the cell wall. So remember, when you remember animal cells, chloroplast and cell wall. Okay, we shall begin with the first organelles, which is nucleus. Remember that all the structures in the cell are called organelles. Let's see the nucleus. The nucleus are found at the center of the cell. They are spherical in shape. They control center of the cell and controls all the chemical reactions and cellular activities in a cell. So remember, the nucleus is usually found in the center of the cell. This is especially true for an animal cell. What is the function of the nucleus? It is the control center. Next, we have a look at the cytoplasm. It's a jelly-like medium. It contains water and other substances like protein, starch, minerals, and vitamins. It is enclosed by cell membrane. Then they carry out chemical reaction takes place in this place. So, what is the function of cytoplasm? Cytoplasm is where all activities of the cell take place in. If you remember cytoplasm, remember jelly-like substance, and they are in the cell membrane, of course. What is the next organelle? The cell membrane. It is the outer boundary of a cell. It is thin, partially permeable layer. Substance move into and out of the cell through the cell membrane. So remember, the cell membrane actually controls what moves into the cell and what moves out of the cell. What is the next organelle? The vacuoles. The vacuoles are fluid-filled sacs found in cytoplasm of the cell. Vacuoles in animals are tiny spaces containing air, liquid, and food substance. In plant cells, there is usually one vacuole filled with cell sap. It forms the biggest part of the cell. Cell sap contains water and dissolved substances such as sugar and salt. So what is important to remember here? That the plant cell have got a big vacuole and the animal cell have got tiny small vacuoles. Now, the vacuole is actually the cell sap for the plant cell. Next, we have a look at the cell wall. What is the cell wall actually? Remember that the cell wall is a structure for plant cells, not animal cells. The cell wall is the rigid outer wall of plant cell. They are made out of tough substance called cellulose, which forms a layer around the cell. The cell wall actually supports and gives shape to the cell. So remember that the cell wall actually is contained of cellulose. They give the shape to plant cell. Lastly, we have got the chloroplasts. The chloroplasts, these are small disc-like structures found in the cells of green plants. They contain a green pigment called chlorophyll. Now, as usual, you should know the function of the chlorophyll is used in the process called photosynthesis, of course. Only green plants have got chlorophyll. So, chloroplasts can be only found in green plant cells, of course. Now, these are the basic organelles which you have to know. So, I have got an interesting activity prepared for you today. Now, this is called creative cell artwork. So, go around your house and find a few different types of materials which you can use to make a model of a cell. So, you can actually use green marbles for the chloroplast or even an egg for the nucleus. Let's have a look at the model I have prepared for you here. Now, this is an example of an animal cell, of course. I have used plasticine, M&Ms, oranges, and what else? No, basically that's it. So, let's have a look at the cell. Now, this outer layer, the colorful one, is known as the cell membrane. Now, I have used the orange here to resemble the nucleus. So, whenever I remember the oranges, I will remember that animal cells have got a nucleus. Now, the small blue M&Ms here I have used to represent the small tiny vacuoles which animal cells have. So, these colorful M&Ms actually resemble the layer of the nucleus. Remember that the nucleus is always covered by a layer. So, as you can see here, the animal cell has not got a regular shape. It comes in irregular shape. This is the animal cell. What about the plant cell? This is an example of a plant cell. I have used also same kind of materials, which is plasticine, M&Ms, a kiwi fruit and oranges. So see what kind of creative things you can do with food and plasticine. So you can actually use different things which you can find at home to also make another model of cell. Be creative. Now let's have a look at the plant cell. Now the orange here, like the animal cell, I have used to represent the nucleus. This is the covering of the nucleus. Now the M&M here and the kiwi fruit I have used to resemble the chloroplast found in plant cells. Only in plant cells we find chloroplasts. Next we have got the big blue-like thing here, which is the vacuole. Remember, the vacuole in plant cells are very big. They are known as the cell sap. What is the function of the cell sap? It gives the cell turgidity and keeps the cell fresh. Now, this orange-colored plasticine here I have used to resemble the cell wall. You know that the cell wall is made out of what? Cellulose, of course. They give a firm, rigid structure to the plant cell. So remember that the plant cell has got a regular shape. The green background here is the cytoplasm. Both animal cell and plant cells have got cytoplasm. So you have seen the model that I have created. Now remember to try at home. But here are some examples of the creative cell models which I have prepared for you in the graphic. Have a look, grab an idea and do a model at home. This is the creative cell art. See how they have used different materials to create different types of cell? Here's another one for you. So now you have an idea of how to make a model of cell. We shall move over to the next segment which is the Do You Know segment, to learn a few things about cell. Well, which is the largest cell? Now here, this is a picture of an ostrich. I do not mean to say that the ostrich is the biggest cell, but something relating to the ostrich is the largest cell. This is the egg of an ostrich. So now you have an idea that the largest cell is the ostrich egg, of course. The largest known cell is an unfertilized ostrich egg cell. I have a question for you. Which cell can you actually see without using the microscope? Think, students. The correct answer is an egg, of course. An egg is a cell. You can see them without the help of a microscope. Have a look at the egg you have in the fridge in your homes. Let's move over to the next one. Where did the word cell come from? The word cell comes from Latin cellula, meaning small room. Well, go over to your friends and ask whether they know the answer to this question. What is mitosis? Some cells split apart. This is called mitosis. When a nucleus divides and the cell splits into two, you have two cells instead of just one. Well, now you would not have an idea of what is mitosis, but I'm sure that later you would learn further about mitosis. But let's have a look at the graphic to see what is mitosis actually. Here you can see cells splitting. One of the cells of the nucleus is splitting into two. Now, from one cell, we have got two different cells with the same genetic information. So this is mitosis. So you learned about which is the largest cell, you learned about mitosis, and you learned about how cell's name came about, which is cellula. So this is all for the Do You Know segment. So I have got two experiments prepared for you. This is how to prepare chick human cell and how to prepare onion cells. Let's have a look at the first experiment. Preparing human chick cells. What are the material and apparatus needed for this experiment? Clean toothpick, methylene blue solution, filter paper, glass slide, cover slip, and forceps. Now, what is the function of the methylene blue solution? This is the solution used to highlight the parts of the human chick cell. Let's see the method of the experiment. Use toothpick to scrape the inside of your cheek. Now, which inside do I mean here? Open your mouth. Inside here, right in here. So, place the scraping on a glass slide and put a drop of methylene blue and water on it. Gently lower the cover slip on the glass slide. Next, remove excess methylene blue using a filter paper. Lastly, the chick cells are observed through the microscope with a low power lens followed by high power lens. So remember, in the section when you learned about the microscope, always start with the lower power lens followed by the higher power lens. So what do you actually see under the microscope when you take scraping of your cheeks and see them? Let's have a look at the observation. Now remember, students, that if you do not use methylene blue solution, you would not see the observation like how you can see in the graphic now. The cells would not be colored. The nucleus would not be visible. So thanks to the methylene blue solution, you can see the shape of the cell and the nucleus. So remember that the human cheek cell is an example of animal cell. They have got cell membrane, you can see the cytoplasm, and you can see the blue colored nucleus in this observation. So this is the human cheek cell. How do you prepare an onion cell? Remember that onion cell is actually an example of plant cell. Let's see what are the material and apparatus needed for this experiment. Material and apparatus is onion, iodine solution, scalpel, glass slide, cover slip, filter paper, mounting pin, forceps, and microscope. So how do you actually carry out this experiment? It's basically same like the one you used to prepare the human cheek cell, but here the solution differs. Firstly, an onion bulb is cut vertically and one of the inner scale leaves is removed. An inner epidermal layer is removed from the scale leaf using a pair of forceps. The layer is then spread out on a drop of water in the middle of slide. Cover the specimen with the cover slip using a mounting pin. Add a drop of iodine to it. So here we use iodine, not methylene blue solution. Remove excess iodine solution using filter paper. Observe with microscope using low power lens then high power lens. Now it's basically the same like the human cheek cells, don't you think so, students? But here we use iodine, remember. So what is the function of iodine? Like the methylene blue solution, it also colors the nucleus and cytoplasm here in the plant cell. So what color? Let's have a look at the observation. This is an example of what you see under the microscope of the onion cell. So remember that the iodine solution colors the nucleus reddish brown. And what color is the chloroplast? It is dark blue. So this is the experiment of onion cell, and previously it was the experiment of human cheek cells. Now you have an idea of what you would see under the microscope when you look at human cheek cell and onion cell. Now remember, the onion cell has got an extra structure which is the chloroplast. The onion cell also have got rigid lining around them which is the cell wall. So let's move over to do the exam lab and to check out a few spotted questions. Question 1. Found at the center of the cell, spherical in shape, control center of cell. Which of the following organelle represent the description above? So this is found in the center of the cell and they're spherical in shape. So let's see the answer options. A. Cytoplasm, B. Chloroplast, C. Nucleus, and D. Cell membrane. So what do you think is the correct answer? The correct answer is C. Nucleus. Nucleus are the control center of cells. Do you still remember what is the color of the nucleus when you do the human cheek cell experiment? It is blue, thanks to methylene blue. Let's move over to question 2. What does the vacuole contain? Now what is the vacuole? Vacuole is big in the plant cells. It's small in the animal cell. So what's the function of the vacuole? Let's see. The answer is cell sap contains water and dissolved substances such as sugar and salt. So cell sap here means vacuole. They actually have got water and dissolved substance which is sugar and salt. What is question 3? What is protoplasm? Now, cell basically has got cell membrane and protoplasm. Protoplasm is actually what? Let's see the answer. Protoplasm consists of the nucleus and cytoplasm. So remember, students, that protoplasm is nucleus and cytoplasm, only these two structures. What about question 4? The following is a cell seen under the microscope. What cell is it? Why do you say so? Now, we did an experiment before this regarding the onion cell and the human cheek cell. Which cell is this? This is an example of an onion cell. Now, why do I say so? It's because it has got regular shape. Okay, this is the function of the cell wall. It gives a rigid shape. Now, this is an onion cell. So, we have come to the end of the exam lab section. So, before I end, as usual, let's do a quick recap or a summary on today's lesson. Generally, a cell consists of a cell membrane surrounding a living component called protoplasm. So remember, when you remember cell, is cell membrane and protoplasm. The protoplasm consists of the nucleus and cytoplasm. Both animal and plant cells have nuclei, cytoplasm, vacuoles and cell membranes. However, plant cells have chloroplast and cell wall. So what's the function of the nucleus? It's the control center. What about the cytoplasm? It is jelly-like substance where the cell's activity takes place. Vacuole is the cell sap. What about the chloroplast? It contains chlorophyll. So, do you understand now the structures and the function of animal cell and plant cell? So, we have actually come to the end of the lesson today. Before I end the lesson, I would like to remind you to do a revision of today's topic because the next lesson is also something regarding the animal cell and the plant cell. So have fun learning. Until I see you in the next lesson, take care and bye-bye.